Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to demonstrate how I make bone broth. It's not necessarily, the only way to make it, but and this is actually not even the way that I normally make it, but I'm going to show you this way, and then also I'll talk about how I normally do it and give you some ideas. So to start off with, I just want to show you, this is Nourishing Traditions again. This is where I got my base recipe that I use, and I highly recommend that you get this if you are interested in bone broth and other things. Fermenting, all of that is in here. So normally I would be doing chicken, but today I happen to have a turkey carcass. I made turkey yesterday, so I'm going to be using a carcass instead of a whole chicken, which is what I normally would do. I've already got some of the vegetables chopped up for you. So I've got carrots. Because it's a huge turkey carcass, I've got more than I normally would for this. It was a 20-pound carcass, so I've got, well, I only had 3 carrots, but I would normally do like 4 or more. And you don't have to be careful how you cut these up. They don't have to be perfectly sized. Just chop them up any old way. You can actually also even use scraps. So if you were cutting up onions and carrots for another recipe, you can stick the ends into a bag and stick it in the freezer, because you're not actually going to eat these vegetables. I'm actually going to feed up these ones to our dog with his dog food. So it can be scraps. It can be I've heard that if you put the onion skins in, I haven't actually tried this, but it's supposed to make the broth a richer color. So something you can try. And just to show you, they don't have to be the prettiest vegetables out there. This is just some celery that I had wilting in my fridge, and so that's what I'm going to use, because that's what I have. So, and you can throw in the leaves too. The leaves are really super healthy. So as I'm cutting up these vegetables, there was a couple things that I kind of forgot to mention in the last video. Hopefully you're trying different vegetables, kind of getting the hang of adding vegetables to all your different meals. Some of our favorites for breakfast, because I know breakfast is kind of a weird meal to add vegetables to. I like to do just cut up cucumbers and bell peppers, like red and yellow and green peppers, not green usually, red, yellow, orange. Those are good for just snacking on, or you could do like an omelet with spinach and onions and those kinds of things, so that's some ideas. And speaking of spinach, also, I did want to mention and forgot in the last video that you do need to cook spinach and broccoli, cauliflower, brassicas. Those all need to be cooked in order to get the nutrients and minerals out of them. They have things in them that block the nutrients, so that's just a side note that I forgot. So in with my vegetables, I've already got 1 gallon of water in here. I'm going to add another gallon of water. And I've got a few herbs here. I've got some thyme. And you don't have to add the herbs. I actually don't normally, but because it's turkey, I like the flavoring a little more with turkey. And this is frozen basil that I chop up and freeze during the summer when I have a lot of basil. So I'm going to throw that in. Bay leaves are good for this. Normally I don't put any of that in. Actually, the only seasoning I normally put in for chicken broth is parsley, and parsley needs to go in at the end, so I'm not going to add the parsley in this either right now. I'm going to add it at the very end because it is very delicate, and so you just want to get the minerals out of it, and that just takes about 10 minutes at the end. So here's my turkey carcass. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to turn my phone off. So I just picked all the meat off of this carcass. And so I've got the bones here. One other thing I want to mention about the vegetables, ideally you would want to use organic vegetables. You're going to get more nutrients out of them, because of course they're going to be grown in more nutrient-dense soil. And there's some vegetables that were cooked in the turkey that I'm just going to dump in there. So organic vegetables, if you can get organic chicken or turkey also. This one is not. This is just a free turkey that I got for spending however much at Thanksgiving time. So I'm actually, because it's not organic, I'm going to try to get rid of most of the skin because fats and skin will retain the like the antibiotics and things that they would give to the birds. And there will be some of that in the bones, unfortunately, which is why preferably you would use organic. You don't really want antibiotics in your bone broth because this is supposed to be a healing food. And you don't want to be damaging your body with, you know, antibiotics and whatever else they've been giving their birds. So, so if you can get organic, if you can't, do the best you can. At least you're still getting some of the minerals when you do this. So I'm going to chop this up as small as I can. The smaller pieces will absorb more nutrients out of them. And I'm also going to take my meat cleaver and I'm going to cut these bones down so that we can actually get to the marrow where there's a lot of minerals and nutrients. So I'm going to turn you guys off for a second, chop these up so you don't have to listen to it, and then I will be right back with you. Okay guys, so you can see I got my cleaver out, handy dandy cleaver, and I left some of these large pieces, like the back is kind of hard to get at, so I'm just going to throw the back in there. Oh, there's one that I missed, but so I did want to show you this. They do splinter when you cut them up, so you want to be careful, especially if you have, you know, this is why you don't give these bones to dogs once they're cooked, because they'll splinter. But we are going to strain this at the end, so you can see all that marrow that's in there. That is very, very nutritious, so we're going to absorb all the nutrients out of that. So I mentioned that this is not how I normally do this. Normally what I would do is use a whole chicken, organic, free range if I can get it, or a pastured actually would be even better, but those are kind of hard to come by and very expensive, so I usually just try to get organic. And then I would just cut up the chicken raw, and you can either do chicken, you can do turkey this way. You can either do it raw, or you can do like this, where you cook the chicken, take all the meat off, and then just use the bones. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll buy a couple of chickens and I will cut them up into pieces, and I will just use the backs and necks and gizzards and wing tips and all those little pieces that you don't eat. I'll save those, put them in a baggie in the freezer, and then when I have enough, I'll use those for the broth, and then I just, you know, have the cut up chicken that I can use for whatever else. So that's how I usually do it. I'm actually not going to demonstrate beef broth today because it's a little bit of a different technique, and I have a bunch in the freezer already and don't need any more. So when I get to where I need beef broth, if you want to learn how, go ahead and comment below and I'll make a video next time I make that. But this is mainly just for poultry. So there's little different techniques for, you know, fish and beef and some of the other things. So I've got my meat, I've got my vegetables, some of my seasonings, which you can leave out or not. And then here's the key ingredient, vinegar. So there's 1/4 cup of vinegar going in here. And what that's going to do is absorb the minerals out of the bones. If you've ever done one of those science experiments where you put a chicken bone in vinegar and then you pull it out and it's all floppy, what that has done is pulled all of those minerals, the calcium and things that make the bone hard, it's absorbed them all and kind of digested them in a sense because it's an acid. So I'm going to leave this in soaking in the vinegar water for anywhere from ½ an hour to an hour. And then I'm going to bring it up to a boil, and then I will get back to you guys, because what's going to happen is it's going to get a foam on top that you have to scrape off. That's the contaminants and things kind of come out in the foam. So it's going to sit for ½ an hour to an hour, and then I will come back and show you how to finish it off. One more thing I almost forgot. If you are not doing a turkey carcass, let me get you the amounts that you would actually need for just a chicken, because you're not going to need 2 gallons of water for a chicken. So just out of this Nourishing Traditions, if you did just a regular chicken, 2 to 3 pounds of bony chicken parts, and I usually put in chicken feet, which are going to put a lot of gelatin in it, which is super healing for your gut. You also want to add in the gizzards, pretty much all the parts. So for that you would need 4 quarts of water, cold filtered water. You don't want chlorinated water because it's going to kill all the microbes and things. 2 tablespoons of vinegar, 1 large onion, 2 carrots, 3 celery sticks, and a bunch of parsley that goes in at the very end. So that's if you just want to do a chicken. Be back with you in just a few minutes. Okay, so you can see the foam around the edges. That is where the impurities are, and we're just going to scoop the foam out and throw it out, and then we're going to turn this down to a super low heat. You could also do this in a crock pot. Actually, I'm going to put the lid on. So if you had a smaller amount, this is a huge turkey, so I can't really do that in the crock pot, but for like a chicken or something, you can put it in the crock pot and let it cook anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. And once it's done, we'll go ahead and just pour it through a strainer, and that is it. Homemade bone broth, super simple. It can sit there on the back of your stove and just cook until you're all ready for it. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Have a great day.